Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cup of Joe with Joe and Joe podcast. I am your host, Joe, and with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Joe.
Boy, oh boy, do we have an anime on our hands. It's here, and it's there, and we're talking about Violet Evergarden, not Evergardens, Evergarden. Or is the actual title Gardens? Because her name is Violet Evergarden. I don't even know. Confirm, please, Joe.
It is just Violet Evergarden because the show is about one Miss of Violet Evergarden. So, no S, Evergarden, full stop.
All right, Joe. This is a 13-episode Netflix anime. I believe Blue Studio
Not made for Netflix.
is the name, or something like that.
What studio?
Blue Studio or something like that, I think.
What is that for? This was made by Kyoto Animation.
Or something. At least I don't know. I saw something in the credits. It's Kyoto Animation. Okay, moving on. Joe, this thing.
You are so knowledgeable of this, Joe. I can tell already.
Joe, is this a good show?
I went on a bit of an emotional journey with this show.
Oh God.
Yeah. So, it started off... Alright, here. So let's just dive into this real quick. I started off this show. We had just come back from a nice little vacation that we took. You, me, and a Paul. Up to the Northeast. It was lovely. We come back. We put off recording this shit because I still hadn't even started the show. I started watching the show, and I made it through the first maybe 4 episodes, I'd say. Before then I went off to go do, whatever else life was calling me away to do something else. And then I came back and I watched the next 3 or 4 episodes, and I got to episode 9, and I was like, okay, feelings have changed, because the first 4 episodes I didn't really feel a whole lot. I was just kind of like, this show looks gorgeous. It looks beautiful. Its soundtrack is also quite beautiful. I found it reminiscent of Disney and Ghibli films. And then the story and characters still weren't quite catching me. But as the show went on, and I watched it, I believe, in 3 or 4 sittings, by the 3rd sitting, I was fully hooked into this show. And by the end of the show, I think I was bawling like a baby, Joe.
Oh, how the turntables. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Watching this show was like pulling teeth for me. This thing was torture. I did not want to watch this at all. Every day when I went down to sit down to watch my episode, I was not looking forward to it. This thing is beautiful. It has a great soundtrack. And yes, this thing has made me cry many times. And I kept thinking about it. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, do I actually like this? I'm like, why am I crying? Why am I reacting like this? I'm like, no. I'm just, this stuff, emotional shit like this, it gets me, man. It fucking gets me. All right? I fucking books and stuff like that. The way they had it, I'm like, damn, they had my number. And, literally every fucking time I fucking bawled my eyes out. The fucking story of the fucking prince and princess and writing the letters back and forth. Oh my God, I thought that was fucking adorable. But when I really sit back and think about it, the fucking story and the show, I never want to watch it again, and I did not enjoy it. And it really, for me, the only thing it had was, wow, it's gorgeous, has a great soundtrack, and it made me cry, but I didn't think the story was interesting. I think Violet I don't like Violet. I'm sorry, I just took a big steamy shit on you, and I'm sorry. This is just revenge for you taking steamy shit on, fucking, what the hell? Oh my God. The Big Sick.
I didn't take a big steamy shit on the Big Sick. I said it was mediocre and that there were some parts that I found rather interesting because they opened up my worldview. I could have gone much harder on that. Actually, no, I couldn't. I stand by what I said in that. But you will know when I take a big steaming shit on whatever something is that you like. Yeah, so this show, it is a little hard to get into. Violet Evergarden as a protagonist is, in the beginning, I will say, a fucking brick wall, which is kind of the point, because Violet Evergarden is a child soldier, a soldier of war, and this show takes place in the immediate aftermath of the ending of said war. So it's kind of following her as she's trying to learn how to become a normal human, because as far back as she remembers, she hasn't known anything else other than being a soldier and taking orders from a one Major Gilbert, who is sort of like her, I don't want to say mentor, I guess mentor figure is the closest thing I can say to that. Almost like a just a major, I guess, but also like a father or like a big brother in a sense. It's a little strange in that way, but it's also very loving, because he's the only person who actually ever cared for her. Even Gilbert's brother, who found Violet in the first place, offered her up to Gilbert as a tool of war. Like, that was her entire purpose. He's just like, yo, she's real fucking good at killing bitches, so use her to kill some bitches. And he's like, I'm gonna give her a name and try to teach her how to be a human. And he's like, alright, do the fuck you want with her, I don't care. And he just fucks off. But that's kind of like that's where she's coming from. All she knows is killing and war and being efficient, and human emotions don't exist for her. Or at least she doesn't quite understand them yet. And then over the course of the show, she becomes something called a auto memories doll, which is basically just someone who writes letters for people, puts their emotions into words, and then through that job, she tries to understand what the final words the Major left her with mean, being, I love you. And I'm with you, Joe. In the beginning, I was very much like, it was kind of pulling teeth. I was like, all right, let me just watch these first couple of episodes in bulk. That way I can then get through the rest of the show also in bulk. But I just don't know. Something happened, like, partway through the show, where I just started getting real fucking invested in Violet and her slow burn progression to actually becoming, like, a character with emotions and empathy.
Yeah, that didn't happen for me. I really don't like Violet at all. I think she's fucking adorable. And best girl, of course. Right next to the older woman at the writing company. But anyway.
I knew you were gonna fucking say something about her. Jesus Christ.
Oh god, she's beautiful. Anyway. Also, fuck Iris. I hate Iris. She's such a fucking bitch. Anyway.
You got Tits, which is the woman that you're talking about. You got Iris, who's the bitchy girl, and then you've got Coconut Head, who is whoever the fuck.
Shy.
What's the other girl's name?
I got no clue, man. She's shy. I read a
Shy,
book.
Bullcut, yeah. Coconut Head. Something like that.
yeah. It just didn't click for me. Like I said, it got a reaction out of me, and like I cried, and I got emotional, and like I guess I quote unquote got invested because I finished the show out and I was like, okay, this thing wrapped up, but like I finished it and I was like, my first thought was, man, thank God this is over. Because I just didn't, I don't know, like, and this is usually this is usually my fucking bread and butter, baby. This is usually, it's like, oh my God, it's like great music, beautiful images, it's like female protagonist, it's like about love, it's like, damn, this is Joe's bread and butter. But I feel like almost they were just riding on it too much, where I was like, I'm like, I don't give a shit that she fucking writes letters. I'm like, this is fucking stupid. I'm like, I don't care about writing letters. I'm like, why is this fucking important? Yeah, it just didn't click for me. And I really tried. I'm like, no, it's gonna happen. Like, I'm like, all right, it's just a slow burner. I'm like, all right, I can sense things are really starting to pick up towards the end. I'm like, oh wow. I'm like, I noticed that Violet has changed a lot. I'm like, wow, now she's actually expressionate, emotional. Especially that scene with when the fucking mom dies of like cancer or some shit, and that Violet's like,
oh good Christ,
oh god,
yeah, episode 10.
That thing is a fucking train wreck. The fact that Violet couldn't cry when she gets back and she just breaks down in front of everybody, that one had me crying. But yeah, I don't know. There's cool scenes. I mean, her killing some of these bitches is fucking sick. She is a bad motherfucker. I love her robot hands. I also love at the very end where they basically pull a fucking
robot hands.
I like how they pull a Ghost in the Shell with like she has to pull really hard and the hands can't withstand it and they end up exploding. If you remember that from Ghost in the Shell when she tries to like rip off the hood of the cannon thingy, it's a very cool scene where you see the anatomy explode of her arms. Very, very cool. Anyway, they kind of did that. I liked it. Look, it's not terrible. Maybe I was a little too aggressive coming in this. This thing isn't terrible. I just never want to watch it again.
Which is funny because on the and here's the thing, Joe. I think I understand why you don't like this. Like thinking about it right now, I'm like, okay, on the surface, this is a very Joe show. You know, it's got, like you said, it's fucking gorgeous. It follows the female protagonist. It's got the beautiful music. It's got the more emotional kind of thing. Like, it's not a battle shonen action anime that, like, I would... It's no Gurren Lagann, you know? This isn't something that I would normally watch. But the story isn't something that you, Joe, I'm pointing at you right now, across the fucking world. I'm pointing at you. It's not a story that I think you generally watch, or at least something that you wouldn't generally expect from this going into it with the surface level expectation that you may have gotten from it. Because it really, at the core of it, is a story about a veteran more than anything. And a veteran trying to come to terms with what they had done during war, and then trying to learn how to be a better person, in a sense, I think. Yes. I'm going to stick with that explanation for a little bit. Because you're following Violet after she's, war is over, she's into civilian life, and the first couple of episodes where she is the brick wall, very important because you see exactly how she acts normally, where it's like she doesn't understand emotion when she's typing out what people are saying to her, very mechanical in essence, again, beautifully brought to, or like, what's the word I'm looking for? Where something is
displayed.
Imagery. Displayed. No, it's something where it's like a metaphor, but it's being brought to life. Let me just say that. That metaphor, where she's very mechanical, is brought to life in her fucking prosthetic mechanical arms. That was a long way to get to that thing. And so it's like seeing her kind of like... Also, those things are fucking beautifully animated. Like, oh my fucking god, the way that they move... Jesus Christ. But like the way that she acts in the beginning and the mechanical hands emphasize that beautifully, it's very important as the foundation for then what happens later on. And to steal a line from Mr. Bossman of the writing company that she works for, she is burning, but she does not realize it yet. And I thought that was a pretty edgy line
it's
for when they ended up delivering it in the beginning. And I was just kind of like, okay, we'll see how this goes. But then when episode 7 hits and that turn at the end, when Violet actually begins to realize, rationalize everything that she had done during the war, and she starts to feel the burning of her soul, I was like, oh shit, I think I'm into this show now.
Violet's gonna feel that weight.
Just like, yeah, exactly. She's gonna feel that weight. She's gonna carry that weight. And she's going to have to try and work through that for the rest of the show. And then you get into episodes like 8 and 9, where she's exploring more of her not her backstory, but kind of like her history, and going back to the site of where she last was with the Major and he died. And you see the visceral backstory of her losing her arms, which I was like, I didn't expect this show to go anywhere near that. And you just see what's happening, and you're just like, oh my god, the shit that you have gone through. Like, it's not a Big Sick or a 500 Days of Summer. So on the surface, it kind of looks like you might get something akin to that. Not quite the rom-com sort of stuff, but something a little bit more lighthearted, I guess, or like slice of lifey. But instead you get some more episodic stuff that, number one, is hard-hitting just on an emotional level, because you get episodes like episode 10 with the 50 years of letters that she ended up writing for this woman's daughter, which, when that thing hit, quick tangent, okay, I gotta fucking talk about episode 10, because Jesus fucking Christ. The show hadn't made me cry yet. Okay? Yet. My emphasis on yet. I was watching it, and I'm going through, and like, this is the point where I'm kind of like, I'm getting more into this, because we had just had the episode 7 where the burning of her soul begins. And again, it's very edgy line, but I think it works very well for Violet realizing what she had done, which was kill a lot of motherfuckers. And then her kind of like breaking down and going back to the site of that. And then it's like, okay, now she's gone off and she's kind of like rebuilding herself and trying to come out of all that stuff. And she goes off to do this thing. And I knew in the beginning of the show, or at the beginning of the episode, that the letters that the mother was writing were going to be for her daughter. In my brain, though, I was being like, come on, daughter character, stop being such a fucking asshole. Obviously, the letters are for you. It's probably just like one letter just to tell, like, her saying that she loves you and all this sort of stuff for when she ends up passing and all that sort of crap. And so then, Violet leaves, and then we see the quick montage, the seasons changing, and then the bed being filled with the mom and her daughter, and then the bed all of a sudden fading to empty, all the bedding gone because implying the mother is now gone. And then we get the funeral part, and you're like, okay. And then she opens up the letter, and it's very heartfelt and everything like that, and I'm just like, god damn, that's pretty good. But then it doesn't end there. And then we get the next year's letter, and then a couple years after that's letter, and I'm just like, good Christ, stop, please stop, no, please stop. Okay, fuck, it fucking killed me. I was like, here I am thinking I'm super fucking smart because I was like, oh, obviously it's gonna be about the fucking daughter or that, and I was like, yes anded me into fucking tears, Joe.
Yes. No, I completely agree. That's my favorite episode. But I will say something really fucking funny, and I don't know if this is where they got the idea for this, but I actually read a book on cancer back when we were in New Zealand, and in that they actually talk about this woman who, before the last week when she was dying, she spent that time writing letters for her son that he would open up every year on his birthday. And I think she only was able to write 20 or something like that. But as soon as I saw this, I'm like, oh my god, as they were writing the letters and doing all of them, I'm like, wait a minute, are they gonna go down this route? And I was like, maybe they've been read this story or something like this, and they fucking did it. And again, this could have been just a separate idea. I don't know if this is a popular phenomenon that people who have terminal cancer or something like that do, because it's a fucking great idea. It's a fucking beautiful idea, and oh yeah, I loved it. Especially, I like that they took the time, because they could have just ended it being you'll get one of these every year for the next 50 years or whatever. But no, they fucking took the time to show her growing up, opening them, and just the look on her face is it made it show that wow, these things were her favorite part of the years when she got to open them. Oh yeah, that one had me bawling. That one I was like, all right, boys, they got me. They really got me on that one.
All right, I'll give you this one, show, but I'm not gonna like it.
Bro, I was resilient to it. I'm like, oh damn, these bastards are gonna make me cry, aren't they? And then just when the end track, the fucking end track is playing and she's growing up, I was like, oh no. I'm like, oh god, here it comes. All right, yeah, I'm gonna welcome this. It's okay. It happens to the best of us.
Exactly. So yeah, and that leads into another point that I have against this show. It's not perfect, as I've stated already, but there are times, again, the line where it's your soul is burning in the beginning, and I was like, that seems pretty intense for an opening line sort of thing. But there are points in this show where it gets really emotional, to the point where I'm just
settle down.
Okay, you can, settle down. You can turn it down a little bit. This is almost, it's not comical, but it's you're overdoing it a little bit. And I wish the show, in certain instances, would stay more subtle with some of the stuff that they're portraying. Similar to, episode 10, where they don't just outright say, I've written you 50 letters for the next 50 years of your life. It's no, you find that out through the context clues of, oh, she's opening a letter and we're seeing her grow up with these letters, and she gets one each for on each of her birthdays. And then Violet says later on, I wrote 50 letters for her, but that's after you see some of this other stuff. So it's that sort of stuff I think is more subtle and cooler as a form of storytelling, and it just works better as opposed to just people falling to their knees dramatically and just bawling their eyes out, which happens a lot on this show, admittedly. Sometimes it works well. Sometimes it's a little overdone, and some of the line stuff is a little bit like, okay, you're going a little bit too intense with this sort of thing. But that's probably just diving into oodles of subjective territory as to what you might find too dramatic and not. So it's like, to each their own. I'm sure some people will find that perfectly acceptable, and some people will find most of this just being like, it's all too overdone. But it is what it is. Also, leading out of episode 10 into episode 11, do you know what I'm going to talk about real quick, Joe?
No.
This was the episode with the soldier who was shot. Did you happen to notice anything about that soldier?
Of course, Joe. Of course. My boy, Ichigo, is the most widespread character in the anime multiverse. He's in all the animes.
He's in everything. Fucking Johnny Bosch Young voicing yet another character in a different anime. I heard that shit in the beginning of the episode, and I was like, wait a minute, was that my boy Ichigo? And then he had a couple more lines, and I was like, oh shit, it's my boy Ichigo. So I was very happy. And then, you know, the rest of the episode happened, and that was also pretty heart-wrenching. But I was at least very much like, fuck yeah, Ichigo in another show, baby. Aiden Field was that character's name. And I was compelled to write that down because I felt so sorry for him. I was like, no, please, you gotta live and get back to, I don't fucking remember what the possible was it Anna that he was going back to? Okay. So and I was like, you gotta fucking get back to Anna, Aiden, come on, please, for the love of God. And then, you know, he doesn't. And Violet brings back the letters and everything like that, and I'm just like, oh no. That was a time where it was like, that was a little too emotional. Like, you kind of played it up a whole lot, and it was like, you could have like toned it down a bit, and it probably would have worked better, in my opinion. But again, to each their own. Overall, though, visuals I think are fucking second to, like, this is, I think, the most beautiful anime I've ever seen. To me, it looks like it's what's his name, Shinkai. It looks like Shinkai on a TV budget, if I may be so bold, Joe.
They really like their fucking trees and wind and water, and they love their plants.
The water effects in this movie are so... Oh, not movie. The water effects in this show are insane. The episode where she's with the writer and she's leaping across the lake.
Oh, that one too. That one too got me. I was like, damn. I'm like, if this is about his fucking daughter, I'm like, I can't. And the fucking play. Also, the one episode where, like, I think it's like episode 12 is when, like, she's back in the city, and it's kind of like, it's like a mini recap episode where she's kind of seeing, like, oh, there's a poster of the prince and princess getting married. Oh, there's a poster of the new play coming out or whatever. Like, all those little things. I was like, oh, look at that. I'm like, Violet made a difference.
I think that's the end of episode 13, because at that point it's like the train bomb plot has been stopped, and now she's back there and just kind of like reminiscing on everything and seeing what she's done over the course of the show and that sort of stuff. And yeah, I find all that stuff really touching. So characters, I think Violet is a pretty good character. I think it takes a little while to warm up to her, because you need that foundation of her being a brick wall, and then the brick wall cracking and melting into a person with actual emotions. Obviously, your mileage will vary. But the music is also fucking phenomenal. What did you think about the OP, by the way? Because I went on an arc with this as well. In the beginning, I didn't really care about it, and now it's on my playlist. I'm like, I actually really like this OP.
Prefer the closer more.
And shit, I care less about the closer. I'm like, it's whatever. But yeah, that's me. That's me, Joe. As you can tell, we kind of have opposite opinions on a lot of this shit.
Wow. Yeah, I really thought I was gonna enjoy this, and I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, the Netflix anime strikes again.
Even though it's not made for Netflix, is the funny thing.
It said like it was like
digging into this
on like one of the things. It said like a Netflix exclusive or something like that.
Yeah, you can only find it on Netflix right now, but it's not a Netflix anime. It was made by Kyoto Animation as an adaptation from a light novel that they gave some grand award to because it was like entered into a contest or something, and so they've adapted it into this show. And I know they have an OVA and a movie and a second movie apparently coming out, which are all on my watch later list because I actually enjoyed this. But Netflix just procured the streaming rights to it, and then they slapped a Netflix original anime onto the front of it, which is, as it turns out, a blatant fucking lie. So I was like, well, fuck.
Yeah, I don't know, but this is one of those where even I was surprised that I didn't enjoy it. And it wasn't like I was kind of like pushing away. I was very open and waiting for the moment to hit me. And just after it was finished, I'm like, did I like this? And I was like, I'm like, it made me cry, and it gave me a good react, and like I reacted to it, and I felt something. But like I said, I just never want to watch this again. I was not. It was like pulling teeth. Okay, I'm just gonna say it was like pulling teeth. I was not a fan of Violet, and I just didn't care about it. I didn't want to watch this. I can recognize why somebody would like it. I am thoroughly shocked that you enjoyed it. I thought you were gonna come in here and just pull a full-on Yasuke and hate it even more than I did. And I was really excited to hear you rip on it. I was so excited, and then I hear you love it, and I'm like, oh god, I'm like, I gotta be the Debbie Downer in this one. But hey, it happens sometimes. Look, man, it's 2021. The Joes can switch roles. It happens, man. But yeah,
Life is full of mysteries.
Violet Evergarden, I'm giving a 4 out of 10.
I'm giving Violet Evergarden. I gotta actually hang on. I'm thinking about this right now because there's a score I want to give it, but I don't know if that's just because it's so fresh in my mind or because I actually want to give it that score. I'm gonna give it for now, and it might change, but we can talk about that next week because we got a bit of a special episode next week that will encapsulate pretty much everything we've done anime related on this show up until now. So we'll talk about that in a second. But for now, I'm giving Violet Evergarden an 8 out of 10.
I think that's our biggest score disparity in anything to date.
Yeah, probably. It definitely seems that way. So, then, moving on to what we're going to be doing next week. It's not exactly what we're used to with doing with the anime edition of the podcast, because we're not looking at any new shows next week. Instead, we're looking back to all the previous shows that we've looked at over the course of this year, which I can't believe we've already looked at this many, because we've reached 10. Violet Evergarden was the 10th anime that we've watched over the course of this entire Cup of Joe adventure experiment, whatever the fuck we've been doing on YouTube for the past 6, 7, 8...
It's a symposium.
August? 8 months. Symposium, exactly. But so, because of that milestone, we are going to be ranking all 10 of the anime that we have watched next week. And I'm sure we'll have plenty to discuss in the disparity between some of our rankings. Top of which I'm sure this show will be there.
Yeah. No, Joe, I wanted to clarify. So, are we going to consider this our second special?
Yeah, this will be the second Cup of Joe special.
This will be the second special taking place of the anime episode next week. Give us a little break from watching some anime, which I think I need a break. I really have no desire to watch anime right now. It's pretty wild. I actually spent a lot of time, I think yesterday, I'm like, all right, when does Attack on Titan come out again? What's up with this Bleach info? Where's my Jujutsu Kaisen? I'm like looking at all this stuff, and I'm like, all right, in due time, my good sir, in due time.
Dude, when winter rolls around, if by some miracle we're still doing this as is, it's gonna be fucking insane. Chainsaw Man, Bleach, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Attack on Titan Final Season Part 2.
I'm gonna
lose my fucking mind.
On top of all the Halloween stuff of the Halloween movies, Over the Garden Wall, and like just Halloween in general and fall in general, it's gonna be like, oh man, I'm feeling peak Jonas.
Peak Jonas is coming, much like winter, because it's all coming in winter. So, everyone, look forward to next week where we'll be ranking all of the anime that we have already gone over for this year. I'm sure it will be quite the discussion between the two of us. And yeah, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Let us know what you thought of Violet Evergarden in the comments. Were you agreeing more with Joe, or were you agreeing more with Joe? I'll let you decide who I'm talking about with who in your own mind. So, with all that being said, everyone, make sure you're... Alright, I told you to leave a like and leave a comment and subscribe and all that usual. Anyway, we'll love you, we'll leave you, and goodbye.